those of us who have been comic book collectors for a long period of time, since the 80s, the 90s, we know it was not only the artwork from artists like Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, it was the experience of being engulfed in the stories in what is called the Marvel Universe. The DC Universe too, but we're going to specifically talk about the Marvel Universe today, mainly in reference to what I feel Disney is doing with bringing these stories over into television and live action film. I remember as kids, it was a whole experience. We used to go to the comic book stores, pick out sometimes 4, 5, 6 titles of our favorite comic books, X-Men, X-Force, Superman, The Amazing Spider-Man, Moonknight, Phoenix Saga. We even collected the comic book cards. Remember Volume 1? We had the whole box, with the superheroes on it. You flip them over. It tells you all their powers. It tells you power level, strength, fighting ability. You know what I mean? So we get these different comics. They came in the collector's plastic with the big white card in the back. And we'd read them that day, maybe once or twice at the most. And then we'd put them back in the plastic because that's how you collected them, is every day to make sure that they didn't get damaged. You know what I mean? So it's like in the Marvel Universe, it's a whole different understanding and a different feeling with each title. It's like we read these stories and they take you to another world. Each title. That's why it's called the Marvel Universe, because each title was a different world. Like I could read X-Force and then read X-Men, and it's not like they just switched the characters out and it's just basically the same thing. It was a totally different world. It was a totally different feeling of the story. And I believe that is where Disney is having a problem with these Marvel shows and Marvel movies. You're not capturing the feeling of the titles. You're not displaying the feeling of the different titles correctly. If I read Daredevil and if I read Moon Knight, it would be a total different feel of the story. Moon Knight had a totally unique feeling to the comic book that wasn't translated. That feeling wasn't translated in the TV series, if you ask me. I know it's some people out there who, may have liked the Moon Knight series, but I'm not sure if they collected comic books. They surely never collected Moon Knight. But needless to say, when they announced the title, right, I was excited. I'm bragging to my kids, about Moon Knight. I love this comic covered up. You know what I'm saying? The promotion looked good. I thought it would be at least worth watching. So I watched it. I had my kids there with me. Everybody's anticipating on my recommendation, and we watching it. To tell the truth, I was embarrassed, let alone totally disappointed. I can't say it was my first time with Marvel. In defense of Disney, before Disney bought Marvel, y'all remember that DC used to have a head start on television and movies. Back in the 60s, the Batman and Robin show, Superman. Especially in the 80s and the 90s, Superman was strong in the theaters. Marvel did have the Incredible Hulk TV show. I liked that show as a kid. But y'all remember Marvel tried to do the Punisher film in the 90s? It never made it to theaters, but they did the film with Dolph Lundgren. The Russian on Rocky 5, I think it was. I was a Dolph Lundgren fan. But this still reminds me of like the logic of some of the people creating at Disney today. Coming up with just like these harebrained ideas that'll doom the project before it even starts. Like, whose idea was it to create a Punisher movie, but don't put the Punisher skull on his uniform? You know what I'm saying? It's like silly, unnecessary decisions like that. And we all know the results. Yeah. That was before Disney, but Disney has made similar kinds of mind-blowing decisions that I don't know about you, but I knew off top wasn't going to work. With these choices Disney has been making, you could foresee the issues arising. And this is upsetting me because, as kids, we used to hope for the day that they would turn these comics into shows and movies. And now it's like we can't enjoy our favorite comics turned into action film because Disney is fluking it up, like Moonknight. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say they're going to cancel Moonknight. And you know what? They should. And that's the thing about it, because I should be watching Moonknight season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5. Now we'll only get one season of Moonknight because Disney wants to go and change up everything from the original comic book. This is what they want to do, and this is what it's leading to. Look at this article here. Disney is slowing down when it comes to making movies and TV series for its Marvel Studios and Lucas franchises, CEO Bob Iger said Thursday on CNBC. The move comes as the company is looking to cut costs during a time when its recent films from Marvel to animation have underwhelmed at the box office. You pull back not just to focus, but also as part of our cost containment initiative, spending less on what we make and making less, Iger said Thursday. Marvel is a great example of that. It had not been in the television business at any significant level, and not only did they increase their movie output, but they ended up making a number of TV series, said Iger. Frankly, it diluted focus and attention. Disney acquired Marvel for more than $4 billion in 2009, and the franchise has since grossed billions of dollars at the global box office for the company. Early this year, Iger had said the company needed to assess how many sequels each character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe would spur, and it was time to explore newness for the brand. He added there was nothing in any way inherently off in terms of the Marvel brand at an investor conference. Early this year, Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania debuted as the 31st film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, kicking off the 5th phase of the 15-year-old franchise. The film had seen the sharpest decline in ticket sales from its opening weekend to second weekend in franchise history. The Marvel installment also raked in mixed to negative reviews. Well, there you go. And this is what is making me angry, right? Because Marvel and Star Wars fans have been complaining for the longest time on how these movies and shows are being made. I mean, George Lucas has been complaining, but Disney is not listening, which leads me to believe this isn't about profit. It's more like it's about agenda. Let me tell you the problem with Disney as pertaining to Marvel. Disney is not doing the Marvel Universe. Disney is doing the Marvel world. You know what I mean by this? Remember I said each title in the comic books was like a different world, each title, and making up the Marvel Universe. It's like all Disney movies and shows, they all fit within like the same world. And I'm talking about the cinematography. It's like, this is the Marvel world. This is this TV show. This is this series. This is this movie, without much visual variation in the cinematography, which they need more in-depth distinction with the stories, the special effects, and the cinematography itself, right? It's not different or in-depth enough to be the Marvel Universe. It doesn't feel different enough to be the Marvel Universe with each title, where each series, each movie title is a different world within itself, right? Which will call for some variation in the cinematography along with quality stories that gives a different feel with each title. It's like they want to connect everything under the Disney umbrella and the Disney history, when it comes to the titles they're choosing, with the visual imagery and even the titles, right? Because it's all so similar. All the cinematography, from the movies to the shows, from everything from Disney to Star Wars to Marvel. And that's the mistake that they're making, if you ask me. You know, the quality, the coloration is almost identical. It's not superhero fatigue. It's Disney cinematography fatigue. It's Disney title fatigue. It's Disney story fatigue. Not to say it's not the quality. It's not to say it's not quality, right? It's quality. It's just not enough variation to keep the mind interested and stimulated, which should be the purpose of film and television. Why do you think you need to have everything under this similar Disney style of film if the shows and the movies are going to be forgotten anyway? One show canceled after the next. One movie bombing in the box office to the next. Like Antman, for instance. In my mind, why would you even choose to make Antman a major budget film? I've been in the comic books for decades, right? And I don't know anybody who Antman is their favorite comic book character. It's like we'll take whatever they make, right? Whatever they come up with, and we'll just cross our fingers and go see it and hope that it's going to be worth watching. And that's another reason why the box office tickets, the sales are so lackluster right now. I believe the reason why Disney chose Ant-Man, because Ant-Man can be viewed as some superhero version of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids broke records, in the theaters. So it's like they want this correlation to this Disney nostalgia. They could make these Disney-esque, they could family action film in that sort of vein. But no, that's not the right decision. And it looked like Disney, and it looked like Avengers, and it looked like Star Wars all in one. Personally, I like the cinematography in this film. It's just, I wouldn't have chosen to do a huge budget film with Ant-Man as the main character, right? So here we go. A huge budget film making this movie that arguably shouldn't have been made in the first place, or at least made how it was made and when it was made. And now the budgets had to be cut, limiting the titles that we really want to see. These titles may never see the light of day anytime soon, when that budget should have been used on a different title, the right title, and it would be successful, ensuring more titles we dreamed of to come. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's very simple, man. If the Marvel comic universe were all watered down the same or very similar in feeling, the Marvel comic universe would never have been such a classic and strong company. It would have never have been worth the $4 billion you paid for it. You bought the Marvel universe. It had a cult following, and I can't tell you for how many decades. And now it's your job to translate the Marvel universe into film and television. And where you wrong is not doing it the way it was done in the comics. It's very simple. You're doing it your own way. And I know we can be hard on the creators of these shows. I know it's not easy. I know it's very difficult, in fact. Casting, getting the right actors and actresses, the writing of the stories, to the performance, to the visual effects, the editing, and then put it all together and make a great product, a great film. And yeah, we talk. It's easy to talk. I know. But in reality, that is your job, to make movies and television shows. And if you're not making good movies and television shows, then you're not good at your job. Either you're going to have to get better at what you're doing, or you're going to have to get better people in certain positions. The writers in general, the producers, the directors. Really, when it comes to the Marvel Universe, Disney, you need to hire a Marvel Universe czar or something. One or two people who nothing in the Marvel Universe gets greenlighted without their approval. who greenlights and assists in developing these projects, people who are really in depth in the Marvel universe. They say we nerds, but Disney, y'all got some nerds. You know what I'm saying? Whoever is picking and approving these titles, it's like they're picking these obscure titles that's not going to garner much interest in the first place. Then, when they make the film or show, they don't even stick to the original subject matter or feel of the comic title. You're not picking the right titles. You're not picking the right villains. And it's not just Marvel. DC is guilty of it too. It's like, what are you people doing? You know, if I was the one giving the green light, you wouldn't have to cut $3 to $5 billion from the budget right now, because I wouldn't have approved of over half of the shows or movies you guys chose to do. At this point, I don't even think it was about profit. Couldn't be. It was about agenda. It was about social agendas, political and social agendas over profit. Or maybe you thought you was able to do both. And here we are, where you're using our beloved comic book stories to experiment, twist, and manipulate. They're already weird anyway. You just we don't need any extra twisting. You know what I'm saying? And as you see fit, and you know what? It's just not working. The whole movie and television industry is suffering right now. It's simply, we got to get back to profit over agenda. We don't have to bash any specific groups or cultures. We know better than that. But we do have to have ideas and products that are profitable. This is what they're doing, y'all. Before we see what they're going to do in the near future, because it's no telling. You know, we saw the financial potential of this company, Marvel, and what I'm talking about, with, the success of Black Panther, the Avengers franchises, the Avengers Endgame being the pinnacle of comic book movies, in my opinion. The pinnacle of film in general, in my opinion. And this reflected in the box office. But what they've done is like they took that bag that they made from these top films and then divided it all up into these smaller budgets and these smaller projects. Some big projects, but Avengers Endgame was huge. But what did they do it for? What did they create all these different titles for? It's for agenda. The wrong titles, the wrong stories, for the wrong reasons. Period. And now they're failing. They have to pull back the budgets, pull back the frequency of Marvel shows and movies. And because now they have to be more meticulous about what they're going to fund. So now we're in a position where our chance of seeing our favorite comics in their full glory in film is at risk. At great risk, the way that Disney is handling it. Because they're not confident in what direction to go in. They wasted money. They don't know what to do. So they're pulling back on producing the comic book films and shows. But, that saddens me, man. But you know what, Disney? If you keep doing what you're doing and keep doing it how you're doing it, you can cut it all together anyway. Because it's not even worth watching. And it would eventually destroy the legacy of the Marvel Universe in film and television, at least for a very long time, until somebody else picks it up in, the future. It doesn't have to be this way. You're literally sitting on innumerable billions and billions of dollars, but you got to come with the right ideas. You got to get the right people. Well, you got to get the right people. Period. You got to have the right titles, the right ideas. Simple. Well, that's it, man. That's my take on it. What do y'all think? You agree with me? Disagree with me? Put your comments down in the comment section. If you're interested in this topic at all, like I am, and y'all are, interested in this situation, check out some of my other videos. In fact, check out this next one. You'll really like it, man. But till next time, thank y'all for coming out.